Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Flow Within. I'm your host, Tony G. Today is my distinct honor, privilege, and pleasure to introduce Britt Devens. Britt, how you doing?
Hi, Tony. I'm good. Thanks. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming down.
Thanks for having me.
I'm actually really excited because you're my first fellow sober musician that I've had on the show, and I think it's going to be really cool. I have so many questions for you.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. How did you get started in music, just kind of in general?
Well, I don't have any real professional background training or anything, so I just kind of picked up my dad's guitar when I was like 14, 15, and then kind of started to learn how to read guitar tabs when I was 16 with some friends back in Fort Collins, Colorado.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I just kind of just kept going from there and took it to college, and I always liked to write. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of learned how to form a chord progression, and that's kind of when songwriting started, probably around 18 or 19, and then, yeah, it just went from there.
That's really cool. Where did you start drawing your inspiration from with songwriting?
My inspiration? Well, as you know, but maybe others don't. I am a lesbian, so I always, had to kind of keep that in when I was younger to myself. So I used that as a way to kind of write how I was feeling and expressing myself. Just because during that time I wasn't out, I couldn't express that to anybody else. So music was very intimate and personal just to myself. Mm-hmm. And so I really didn't share what I was writing until I did come out around age 19. So, I had been writing for some years prior to that. And then when I did eventually come out, I felt like I could be a more honest musician. So during the time that I didn't share with people, it was very just secretive almost. I'd just go write some songs and sing to myself, but wishing I could share that with someone because it was very special. But that was a real freeing moment when I was able to finally, speak my truth and really share, what I was feeling deep down maybe about somebody or something, right? Even though it felt really wrong.
Did any of those songs that you had written before you came out, did any of them survive? Do you still play those? Have you made iterations of those, or? There
are, I think, 2 that I looked back during quarantine and I found, and
nice.
They're there. We'll say. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. And sometimes going back and singing those songs, and it's a weird place it brings me to, it's not uncomfortable, but it's kind of sad to think I was just there alone and didn't really, so I don't know if I'll go back and touch those. There are some good ones though, so we'll see.
That's great. I have no good recordings from when I was like 18 or 19. Yeah. Most of those tapes were destroyed, and I think that's for the best.
There's maybe one, but we'll see. We'll see what it is.
That's awesome. So now, as your songwriting kind of progressed from there, did you find more passion? Did you draw more from that? Kind of like now that you're out, did you kind of keep on drawing from that, or did you move to different subjects? Or
I think for the most part, when I write, it is mostly experience, right? Like an interaction or something I'm feeling internally, often about either somebody or about like I said, an experience or a situation. And I've been trying, I was just thinking about it the other day because it's about to be cold outside and it's going to get dark. And sometimes for me, that brings on a little bit more anxiety than I already have. And so I've been trying to write happier songs, and I'm releasing an EP October 8th. And there's 2, more brighter songs than normal on that. But I don't know. It might just be it is what it is kind of deal, and I write sad songs, and I'm not necessarily sad, but I just think that I feel and I'm able to, for some reason, match the tone of the song if it's in over maybe a more minor key. I don't know. That's what my voice likes to do, and that's when I feel like I am most present. I don't know. I don't write when I'm happy. Right.
Oof, I completely sympathize with you there.
but I'm pretty happy, Yeah. So, but I think that there's just some sort of nostalgic feeling or something for me that brings me back to that young artist who was real lost and confused. And when I get back there, I just feel at home. And so it's a weird thing I've been kind of struggling with, because people have been, why don't you write happier songs? And geez, and it just might not be for everybody, and that's okay. You know what I mean? But there is a population, or whatever you want to call it. There is that audience that does want to hear that. And
Definitely.
For some reason, it's just, that's, I guess, the best time I can create an emotion is when I'm just really speaking about difficult times, or, you know.
I totally hear you. Do you go through swings throughout the year based on weather? Like, do you get like seasonal affective disorder when there's no light out and you're just like, oh, this is perfect, I'm going to write the saddest song?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much like all of them. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's a song, track number 2 on this little EP. It's a short EP. 4 songs are on it, but there were 7, and the other 3 just didn't make it budget and time wise. It was my first production, like full production, like in a studio with someone really, and we were just so busy. And it was just, I brought him 4 songs that I wrote like during quarantine, or 7 songs, but the 4 that got chosen, you know, we restructured them, we, you know, to build crescendos. Sometimes my music's very anticlimactic, but so it was just a process, and it was a huge learning experience. But that second song on there, I wrote like a few days after quarantine, like we had that shutdown, and it had just snowed. I remember it was like March, and it just dumped, but the day before it was like 70, and I work outside, so it's just, it was such it messed with my mind. And I think Colorado always does that. And so, it just reminded me of kind of living, I used to live up in Northern California. So in the Redwoods, it was just that being isolated with, you know, the quarantine was about to just start and all this. And then I remember that weekend, cause I still worked through it all, but I was just in my room all weekend, and I was like, oh, this kind of, it was dark, and I just felt that, you know, impending doom.
Yeah.
And that's something that in my life I'm very familiar with.
Did you find that it was almost easier to like write songs during quarantine, just because it was like, did you feel like you could really just pull from that kind of more darker energy, I guess?
I'll be honest that these 4 songs I wrote like, well, one of them, so 5 of them I wrote like in 1 week, all just like that first week.
Wow.
And it was kind of easy. I was just on it, you know, but then no, after it got weird, and it was just like, it was kind of hard, you know, to just create, just because we had all this time. I was just, I don't know. I feel like for me, I need to be going through something often, you know. I have a bunch of writings and stuff. My whole life I save everything that I just love to write. But, you know, I do also like to keep like something, I don't know, I don't want to go like back through things, you know. I want to be progressive with what I'm writing. So right now, you know, we're looking through old songs. I looked through old songs when I had COVID, and I, you know, found a lot of old ones, and we kind of picked that up with my band and whatnot. But now I'm really focused on creating with them and writing with other musicians, and just to kind of explore that other side of me, that newer side, that freshly sober side, you know, and sober meaning not just off the alcohol, but, you know, I just got off of some anxiety medication prescribed that I was on for 10 years, and I just got off those 2 years ago. So that for me is now the beginning of me. So this album is called Back to Me. It's like, now I feel like I am back to that overall tone in my life of being like, just kind of worry free, like a kid out fishing, you know, singing, just playing. And so that's where I want to like operate now, from that, instead of like digging back into my past. But again, that's where I feel most like myself too. So it's weird.
That's awesome. So getting back to you, or getting back to me, as your album is titled, how does that feel? Because I mean, like you said earlier, we were talking, you said that you were on anxiety medication for 10 years. So how does it, like, can you, I guess a good way to phrase this is like, can you remember who you were before that happened? Or are you just kind of starting like a new, fresh start right now? Because that's been something that I've struggled with my own sobriety as well, is that I don't even really know if I developed myself as a person before I started getting into alcohol really heavily. So now I'm kind of in this gray zone where I'm like, am I going back to who I was, or do I just need to be,
Right.
renewed, I guess.
I can totally relate to that 100%. I started, drinking around like 13, 14.
Oh, wow.
So real young. And I think when I say like back to me, I'm in that same position right now where I'm just like learning, like, who am I?
Mm-hmm.
Who are the friends I want to be with? Who do I want to be intimate with?
Mm-hmm.
Because I wasn't out at 14, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at, 13, 14, when I was at like my best, I was just this athlete and I was just so focused on softball. And so I'm kind of right there with you. I think the tone, I can remember being real happy when I was young, just playing sports and just being outside and just being like, just, there's something about nature that was, fishing and just being, I grew up out in the country, out in North in Fort Collins, and just having no worries until I kind of found my identity, right, and who I was. And so, but who I was right away wasn't okay in society's eyes, I mean, and I'm not saying it was anybody around me. I never had anybody disown me or disrespect me because of my sexuality, but it was me putting that pressure on myself and kind of looking at society and how, 15 years ago, it wasn't as easy as it is now to be gay. And high school wasn't just, I was just at a high school game back in my hometown, and, they got the queer club and they have Pride Month, and it's like, what? Oh, I would have loved to, that would have been a dream, but I had to kind of put on this show, and I wasn't allowed to really be that, and I don't know, because I was just so afraid. I was so terrified of anybody finding out that I was into girls, and so I don't even know, right? Like you're saying, I'm in that stage as well, and it's exciting. It's so cool to be able to, like, who do I want to be, and how do I get to create this life? Because, being on that medication, I just was going. I was fine. I was just like an autopilot, but I wasn't feeling anything. And so when I got off of those, everything is overwhelming. Life, it's almost surreal. And it's hard to explain if you haven't been there. It's just like getting sober, though. Everything is like brand new, and it's almost a high in itself. And so I'm really focusing on just being present and like making interactions and conversations meaningful, and acting with intent and purpose, because I just think for so long I was just going and not feeling anything, and now I'm feeling everything. So
it's such a double-edged sword, because
and you can relate to that.
Oh my gosh, it's for the first several months after I got sober, it was the worst, because I was like, oh, these are emotions and I can't run away from them. Right. Oh shit, this sucks.
Yeah. And you can't, and that's like, it's a beautiful thing, but also, it's like, oh, what?
Yeah.
Can't take a shot of whiskey?
Yeah, it can be very
after
scary.
Hearing that, or like, I can't escape anything. So you have to, like, I don't know, like, what have you found that helps you when you like get in those moments? Like, do you have an escape, or?
I practice a lot of mindfulness. Like, I do meditation every morning, and so whenever I find myself in something like that, I just really try to become present and realize that what I'm fretting about is either a hypothetical situation or something that's already happened, or it's just usually something that's not actually currently an issue. I'm just anxious about the thought about it. And so I just really try to just think about, okay, it's not actually affecting me right now in this specific second. Right. So let's just pull ourselves back. Let's feel that emotion. How does that feel? I don't like it. Okay, but is it something that's actually pertaining to your life right now? No. Okay, so let's just feel it, get rid of it, and then just try to move on.
You just explained what mindfulness is. That's awesome. Mindfulness is a weird one. I was introduced to that like years ago in therapy, even when I was on the meds, blah, 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 mindfulness. And I just try. And I always thought it was trying to not feel anything and just like kind of like zone off, right? And so like you said, just acknowledging it, because I think that for me, with my anxiety, and now I've graduated from a panic disorder to just anxiety, right? So I'm not like always freaking out, but like I still am just kind of high, okay, very much aware of my body sensations, and aware to where, prior to understanding anxiety and panic, I would just freak out like, oh, my heart rate went up. I must be dying or something, right? And that just catastrophic thinking, that all or nothing, black and white. And so now that I understand that I don't have to like act or attach emotions to every thought I have, because, well, we all know, I think we have like a lot of thousands of thoughts a day. And prior to me understanding like thinking patterns and whatnot, I could just spiral out, ruminate for hours on a thought, and I didn't even know. I just thought that's like normal. It's not normal. I mean, maybe it's more normal probably, but it's not healthy, at least for someone like me, because I just didn't know how to stop that. And so now it's like, oh, you thought that? It's just a thought, let it go, instead of obsessing on it and sitting on it and then letting it take over. I mean, it's wild what we can do with our brains. Mindfulness has definitely helped me as well. I'm grateful to have found it, but it's a practice. I mean,
it's never ending practice.
I don't get it like perfect, like a Buddhist.
Oh yeah, I'm sitting there. I mean, I meditate for 20 minutes and I'm like, and I've told this story a couple times to our wonderful producer, Kaylee, but I'm sitting there like during meditation, and all of a sudden I'll hit this like just pristine state, and I just go, yeah, Tony, you're killing it. And I go, oh shit, I just had a thought. So it happens all the time. I always, there's no way I can even go 30 seconds without having a thought. So the practice is that you catch yourself and you start again. That's all that it really is.
Right.
It doesn't matter how long you meditate for. And actually, I think a really cool thing that is becoming more and more prevalent is to practice outside of your practice. So outside of my 20 minutes of meditation in the morning, when I'm walking around on the street, can I catch myself and just be like, okay, just focus on what's happening around you. Don't be so much in your head. And I think that for me has been really huge. And of course, something that I'm not really great at, but that's why I just try. Yeah,
and the breathing too for me has been a huge help. Just being aware. I mean, I'll just sometimes be sitting there at work or, and I'm just like this the whole day. Like, so why is your shoulders like that? Like, let them down. And then like my breath, I could tell it's short. And it's just wild because I don't think that I was ever taught those things when I was younger. Like, if you get anxious, like calm down. Here's a way to calm down. You can inhale for 4. You can hold your breath for 7 and then exhale for 8 seconds. And if you keep doing that, maybe like 5 or 6 rounds of that, it will bring down your heart rate. And so these little tricks they've saved my life. And I'm like obsessed with them. And then everybody who knows me, I can't stop talking about it, and it's annoying. But no, it's like, sorry, annoying. Like, how cool is this? That all I ever needed was my breath. Yeah. You feel like an idiot after years of self-medicating. Really? It was just that easy?
I could have just been breathing this whole time.
But I mean, that's the funny thing about life, man, is you have to constantly be working on yourself. I mean, at least for me, my experience right now, last couple of years, I'm just so focused on what I can control, and that's my health and exercising and diet. And for me, I'm saying, not everybody else, right? Like for me, that's what I have to focus on, because anxiety is a lot about control. And if I can control that little part of my life, I feel a little bit better, because the whole, big picture, we can't control much of. There are things we'll never have answers for, right? And so letting go of that control in therapy. I know we were talking earlier about therapy, like prior to the podcast. Yeah, it's so important to just let go sometimes, because life's so random.
One of my favorite quotes is, life is a series of unending complications.
Yeah.
And so, something's always going to be changing. It's a Sam Harris quote, but something's always going to be changing. As soon as you get yourself into a good spot, something's going to come and try to derail you. When you're in a bad spot, you never know, something good can happen, And so I think it's a really good mantra to live by, to just acknowledge the fact that life isn't always just going to be a straight line, and we're always going to run into these obstacles.
There's I have this impermanence tattooed on my arm in my sister's handwriting, but you know, she'd always reminded me a lot. She's older than me, and she's always been somebody I've looked up to and just really like felt safe with. And she'd always remind me, like, you know, like things aren't permanent. Like if you're going, like you just said, you're going through a great thing, you know, take it in because it might not be great forever. And then if something's crappy, oh, well, you know, it's not going to be forever. Nothing's permanent. You know, I mean, some things, whatever, are permanent. But, you know, I think a lot of Eastern practice is that practice of impermanence, you know. Like, and so I love that you brought that up, because that's huge too, just to remember this too shall pass.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
So after you got sober, did that have any impact on your music or like on your writing process, or did you start pulling from a different place, or was it all kind of the same, but maybe just your thought process was different? Walk me through that.
After I got sober, I think after I got sober, like from alcohol, because I was still, you know, smoking a little marijuana here. Sorry. I don't anymore, but that was a while ago. But I always thought, right, I had to have something to write and to be a better artist. Then I watched videos of me, you know, and heard recordings of me thinking, oh, this sounds great. You're stoned. You're writing good stuff. And it was not good. And there's something in my vocals that I think on this EP, people who have heard me in the past, and not saying I've released millions of songs, you know, I've put out some stuff. I never really took it that serious. It's been a hobby of mine, right? It's been an escape, very therapeutic for me. But some songs prior to this, I listen to them now and I can hear in my voice that I'm not right. You know what I mean? It's not me. It's not pure. It's not honest. I'm not present. And so these 4 songs that'll be out, it's the most honest my vocals have ever sounded and clear. I'm just there. And it's wild to me because I always thought, like, for a minute there I couldn't really write, and I wasn't writing for years. I mean, I've been out of the music scene. I've been just playing, you know, covers and old originals at bars and whatnot, you know, in the last couple of years here and there, but I hadn't had a band or really taken it like serious for about 6-7 years. And so now I'm doing this, and it's very humbling to know, whoa, you sound real good, Britt. And is that because you're off everything, you know? And I truly do think I'm just there. I'm present. I'm not going to these venues to like escape really anything. I don't know if that's what I was doing or running from. So I don't know. So it's weird. I'm in a very transitional place right now as a musician, and I don't know what I want, and I don't have any expectations. I really just want to promote self-care and to take care of you and do your research on your health and medications before you submit to something without trying everything. If I could have, you know, my message just reach one person that's going through a hard time. Because, you know, in those moments of a crisis or whatnot, it's hard to know what to do. And so one person, if they could hear that, I'm good. I'm not trying to go get a record label or anything. Like, I'm cool with my life right now. I love what I do for work, and I love having music as an outlet and being able to just, yes, escape, but it's a different kind now because I'm sharing my truth. And it seems selfish, songwriting sometimes. It seems and feels like, why? Why am I sharing this? But I don't know anything else. You know, I just don't. And if you like it, great. If you don't, I also understand, great. You know, and it's weird, but it's definitely, I've tried to not do it, and then I'm not happy. But I don't want it to be a chore. You know, I don't want to be resentful towards it and it to be a job. I want it to be, you know, what it is right now.
So speaking of your music, why don't you walk us through the song that you gave us that we're going to play for everybody?
Truth and Love.
Truth and Love.
Truth and Love. So I released that in May. It was the first song I had put out in a while. My producer, Trevor Huster, and me did that. I wrote that back, you know, in 2020, and I had just met someone incredible and safe for me. And although we are not seeing each other anymore, she's still so important to me and taught me so much about just who I am, I'm going to tear up. Sorry.
It's okay. Take your time.
She just taught me, who I am. Jeez. Just kind of a human, Like, I know I just need to be honest with myself and just be me. And I don't need anybody, and I just sometimes might need a little extra reminder that things are just okay the way they are,
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I don't know why.
It's okay.
That got me like that, but she's amazing, and she is just was a huge part of me learning like to love again.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's intimate love or I'm just looking for truth and love and everything, right? So just every day-to-day interactions, I want, to find the good in them. But I'm still learning like how my body needs to be and what I need to operate daily, God, no one has a Kleenex. Just kidding. I'm good. So yeah, I mean, it's just, I think everybody can relate to it in some way. It's not, at all about, I don't know what it's about now that I listen to it back now, because it's been a couple years since I wrote it. A lot has changed. I've grown a lot from, and that was like the first 6 to 8 months when I was completely medication free. And I was so excited just about life and meeting somebody and thinking, oh, this is what I need now. I need to be with someone, I need to settle down, this, that, and the other. And then, I started a career I really love, and her and I were growing as individuals and bought property and just learning together, like, what is this life about? What do I need? What do you need? And it's like anybody in a relationship, like life's just constantly throwing stuff at you. And then COVID happened, and it was just a period of, it was scary, but also if you listen to it now, I mean, I wanted to, when I wrote it, it was just on the guitar and it kind of had a darker tone to it. But when we produced it, I heard either a mandolin or a harmonica in it. And so I got a buddy, Will Thomas, to play mandolin on it. And he just brought it. It has, it's brighter, and we got a good little cajon on there. And it's, nice. I wanted it to be a song you could go drive down the mountains and listen to and not be a sad song, And sometimes my panic at the time was really just my thoughts, would take over. My thoughts would just become like, what are these thoughts? Blah, blah, blah. I was just learning how to really operate daily. And this girl was so good about just creating a safe space for me to just hold me and I'd understand, just to let me understand it's just your thoughts. Like, but in the moment sometimes, and I was still learning really, how do I get out of this cycle? How do I get out of this spin, like just constant. And then it got easier, like real quick, a couple months of just that. What is this all about? Everything so much. So she was a very important part of that recovery phase for me, even though I've been off alcohol for years and I was already off those benzos, for a couple months and whatnot. When you get off of those things, your brain has been so suppressed. I didn't have that natural GABA. It's like mowing your lawn for 10 years. You think it's just going to grow the next day without aerating it or seeding it or water. Right now I'm talking work here, but it's not. And so for me, the aerating and the seeding and all that is meditation and exercise and breathing and baths, right? Just self-care.
That's awesome.
And so now 2 years out, those little GABA receptors, which are our natural, calming guys, our neurotransmitters, those guys are growing back every next day because we have, like your brain too, neuroplasticity, which is the recreating of pathways and thoughts and mindfulness. All those things help every day. So, instead of the booze and the pot and the pills, my therapist explains this really well. So he was like, prior to all my newer therapists, this guy told me, so when you were little, you had this little tiger, and that's your anxiety, right? This little baby tiger. And, you might have had a little tiger, and some kids don't, but you had this tiger, and that's anxiety, okay? And so when you're outside playing and stuff, all those little things you're playing, you're listening to music, you're dancing around, that's kind of like giving your tiger food. You feed it. It's calm. It's good. Now when I'm 14, 15, I'm starting to find an identity, and I'm gay, and this tiger's growing. That's my anxiety getting bigger and bigger. And so for me, the pot helped, the booze helped. So that's the food I'm giving it. Now the tiger's quiet and calm, and he's getting fed, and now, get up to like age 24, my tiger's still big, but I'm still giving it more food, but it's growing. And then you take that food away, which is the booze, right? Took the food away, took the booze away. He's still growing. Oh, now you're on the medication, on the Klonopin, the benzos. He's quiet again. He's kind of calmed down. Okay, now fast forward to age like 29, 30, or the benzos were probably like 18, so whatever. All those substances are feeding this tiger, but he's still growing. And then you take them all away at 29. That tiger's still huge, right? And so that's my anxiety when I got off the meds. And here you go with this huge tiger that still needs to eat. And what do you give him, right? And so that's where that metaphor of like just, or whatever, the giving the tiger now, the meditation, the exercise, the healthy diet, all of that, therapy, mindfulness, breathing exercises. That's the food I give it now to keep him calm, right? Because that anxiety is always going to be there.
Yeah, of course.
And he grows and grows and keeps growing with you. And the more things happen, right? Events in your life, that's a part of him. And so it was cool to look at it kind of that way, because I just didn't understand. I was like, I'm off the pills. Why do I still have all this anxiety, dude? Like, what's going on? And he's like, well, he's been quiet. He's been fed. Now he's back. And it's like, so when you get off of something like that, the doctors had told me you're going to have this rebound anxiety. And I was like, what do you mean? And then holy hell, right? I started feeling things I hadn't felt in years, because it just shuts your brain down kind of. And so now it's like, whoa, like, what's up? So, whoa. But hey, I'm grateful to have even had the experience or the opportunity, to get off of those. Not a lot of people do. And if you're on them, great. And if they work for you, great. Just didn't work for me.
Gotcha.
In the end.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and pull up your song, Truth and Love, and listen to it. Listen to how you're reconnecting with all those new emotions.
Thank you.
Oh, it's so scary, but I'm so proud of you for
so
putting yourself out there.
It is scary. This is all very weird for me. I'm vulnerable, but we only have one life, man.
Exactly.
Whatever. We're all dying. I'm looking for truth and love, and I'm still learning how to move through this life, and how I work, what I need and what I need to do, and the way you hold me in my thoughts and body, and take care of all of me when I'm down, lost and confused. Well, you know exactly what to do. Yeah, you do. That's why I need you. Well, I need you. I do. And I know at times 'cause I can be selfish. 'Cause we all know if I don't get enough sleep, well, it'll be hell in the morning. So I gotta go home tonight, but I'll be back on Friday, so I can lay in your sweet arms. 'Cause we know how I get. Lord, I hope this week don't take too long. That's why I need you. Lord, I need you. I do. And you, I need. Well, I need you. I do. I'm just looking for some truth in love and still learning how I move through this life and how I work. What I need and what I need to do. But here's the thing, my darling, if I don't do me, you know we'll surely have a problem. Well, I'll put you first, after me. I can't and won't repeat my history. I'm just looking for some truth in love and still learning how I move through this life and how I work. What I need and what I need. What I need. What I need to do. That's why I need you. What I need you. I do. You, I need. Well, I need you. I do. 'Cause I'm just looking for some truth.
So fantastic song. Right away at the very beginning, the part that grips me is when you're learning how to do everything from scratch. Like you're basically relearning how to live your life. Mm-hmm. That was like one of the hardest things for me, was just getting out of bed in the morning. Like I didn't know how to take care of myself. I didn't know how to fill the space without doing my normal routine. Yeah. So what did you find what was your experience like when you kind of hit that final part of sobriety and you got rid of everything? What was it like trying to relearn how to live?
Yeah. Great question. For me, obviously it's a little bit different, with the booze and then the meds. With the alcohol, it's been some time. It seems almost just so long ago, but it was the same thing. I didn't know who or what to talk. I didn't know anything. And so I went to some meetings, and it was really good for me to meet other fellow alcoholics and other people who were going through things but wanted to make a change. And so that was huge. My family is always there for me. All my friends, whether they drink or not, they were there also for me, and very respectful and understanding. They don't have to drink all the time. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm very particular with the people I am hanging out. If you drink, that's great. But if it is too much, I probably won't be around. You know what I mean? If I can feel that there's probably an issue, then it's just not healthy for me. It's nothing personal. It's just not for me, But then after the medication, I couldn't even, that first couple months and stuff, I couldn't leave the house. My anxiety was so high and my panic was so bad. I had an amazing roommate, my friend Randy, who allowed me to come and do that whole detox in her house she owns. And allowed me to save money. I was teaching music, playing music, substitute teaching when I could, because it was really bad. I couldn't be in bright lights. I couldn't be in loud situations. It was just a lot. So, and I had tried to get off of those meds a couple years before, and I was in a relationship that was not good and not healthy. And so I put it off, and it was worse because I wasn't in a safe place, because it takes so long, and you have to, and why I'm so grateful today is because I had support. I was fortunate enough to get to go to a treatment center to get off of the medication with professionals, right? Not everybody has that. So that's something that I feel extremely grateful for, but I feel almost guilty that I got that, right? So the only reason I'm trying to help in any way I can is because that's a shitty feeling sometimes, to feel like, why me? And why do I have all these amazing people in my life that care? And so back to my roommate, she gave me this place, and she has a great puppy that was always there for me and was with me every day. And so we just started slow, getting up to the gym, just walking on the treadmill. It wasn't anything crazy like I'm doing now at CrossFit. I mean, it was just walking. We'd go to the gym and we'd walk for 20 minutes and we'd watch movies in the little, the cinema area with the treadmill. And then maybe, we'd cook together and we'd take the dog on a walk. And that was enough. I'd listen to Joe Rogan's podcast and just, and he was really great. The fasting, all that stuff, all these self-improvement things. I started to kind of become obsessed. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I see where this is going. And then the next, couple months, it was going to the store, right? Or taking a trip up to Fort Collins and seeing people. And now I don't have any medication, right? They wanted me to try this, try that. And it took about 4 months to get off of some of the medications that were necessary in the place to monitor things, but then you have to taper off those. And so it was doctors, this, that, and the other. But again, having all that support and having my sister and my mom and my dad and my cousins who allowed me to live with them prior to Randy, it was just constant support and little things and people understanding. I mean, people were so understanding. It just blows me away because I think they knew I wanted it that bad. I want to change my life. I want what you guys have. I don't want to be dependent on anything but my breath, and so it was just one day, as it still is, one day at a time. I couldn't think too far ahead. Like when originally, with the alcohol, I think if anybody's going through that right now and like you're thinking, maybe I want to try this, if you just don't, sometimes for me it gets overwhelming to think, oh, I'm never going to drink again. I can't. I'll never drink again. I have to just look at like, all I have is today. Like whether I have 30 years or one day, all you have is today. So I'm not an expert here. I'm just saying, like, for me, I just look at how can I just get through today? Tomorrow's another story. But I think it can get overwhelming when you start to look at the big picture. Oh my God, I could never be on medication again. Yeah. Like just today, I'm not gonna, I'm gonna try to just get through it, get to the gym, try to get some good sleep. Sleep is huge for me.
When you finally relearn how to go to sleep without
oh my gosh, right?
anything. That was the worst part for me. I was like, okay, I'll just go to sleep. 6 hours later, I'm just like sweating through my sheets. Where's my nightly shot?
Yeah, like it's crazy. I totally can relate.
I think you brought up another really cool thing is that, you said you started with not being able to leave the house and then eventually you could make it to the gym to walk on a treadmill for 20 minutes. I look at where I'm at routine-wise now and how long it took to get there. So I think a lot of people can also be like, wow, that person's in such a great place. I could never be there, but it doesn't happen overnight. It is such a process that needs to snowball. You start with something tiny, like leaving your house to start with, and then eventually you get to go to the gym and you walk for 20 minutes.
Sure.
Then, 2 months later, now you're running a mile or two, and now you're going grocery shopping, and it really is a huge transformation that doesn't happen overnight. So I think a lot of people, I guess I'll speak on my behalf, I would always be like, I'm going to change. And then the next day I'd like wake up and I'd make a huge breakfast and I'd go to the gym and I'd work out to the point of exhaustion. And then I'd come home and I'd be like, I feel great. And the next day I just felt like shit because I just pushed myself to the extreme. And then I was like, oh, I need like 7 days of rest. And then of course you just fall back into your old habits.
No, that's a great point. When people do come to me and ask like, how would I start or where do I start? Blah, blah, blah. I think if we're like honest with ourselves and we make like a feasible or an attainable goal, like, I always say like, oh, maybe try to eat healthy, like 3 days this week and go on 3 walks. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like even for me, if I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym 7 days a week, I'm going to meal prep every day. Yeah. I'm blah. Like, you're not, Britt, and don't lie to yourself because then when you don't do that, I feel like, at least for me, if I don't hit those goals, I feel I'm very hard on myself, and then it makes me discouraged to try again maybe. So I mean, it doesn't happen overnight. And another thing my therapist really pushed on me when I was really going through the initial panic disorder stage was exposure therapy. And so that's something that every day I still, even though we're not doing it actively like in therapy, if I know like this, right, for instance, this is not where I would like to be today. I mean, now you're pretty great, but you know what I mean? Like I was kind of like not looking forward just because I was looking forward to, but you know what I mean? This is very out of my comfort zone and I'm very much like, do I want to do it? Blah, blah, blah. Being a musician and trying to like get gigs and share your story, like this is what you got to do in this day of age. You got to be on social media, learning how to do that too. Sorry, everyone. Yeah. You have to do that. You have to get out there because if you're not doing it, someone else coming through the city or someone else who is doing this full time and who wants to play Globe Hall is going to do it. And they're going to get that slot, right? And I just want to play, so I'm going to do what it takes. I'm not going to go overboard, but I respect you and I appreciate you. We both have played at the Awake Sober Bar, which is amazing. And I've, gained a few fans, followers from that place. And I appreciate what people are doing with the sober movement, I mean, this is amazing. I can go have a non-alcoholic beer and pretend to be normal or feel normal. You know what I mean? Like
we are normal.
We are normal.
We are normal.
It's amazing. And so that's where I'm at right now, is just doing things that aren't comfortable for me. Because the more I do it, then it's like, oh, you got a gig. I got a gig this week. I'm not nervous about it. Like, I don't have to even freak out about, am I going to have all my stuff? Am I going to be obsessing? It's just, or I'm anxious. Like my therapist would be like, the time to go to the store is when you're about to have a panic attack. And I was like, you're funny. We're not doing that, bud. But then I started to, and then I made it through. Yeah. And then I started to, going on an airplane, I can't do that. You know what I mean? And the time to do it is when you're thinking about not doing it. And then when you make it out, it's like, oh, you can leave your house. You can go on a trip up to the mountains and you've survived every panic attack you've had so far. It's not like they're still not just as bad as the first one you ever had in your life. They're always terrible. But
talk about exposure therapy.
Right. But you're going to make it through, and learning and researching, studying anxiety for me was the only way, and accepting, right, that it is a part of me and it's not going anywhere. Some days it might be worse than others, but I'll get through it. That's when my life changed. Just accepting it, not trying to frickin' fight it all the time. When I was having real bad panic attacks, my therapist was like, panic is just anxiety. You're obsessing, you're having a little anxiety, but then it just comes on and now you're having anxiety about having anxiety and having a panic attack. So you're worried about having the panic attack downtown. So then you avoid going downtown and it just makes it worse. So the second I stopped worrying about it and I just said, okay, great. If I have a fucking panic attack today at work in front of everybody, great. What are we going to do about it? Yeah. And so the second I stopped resisting it was when I just started to accept it, and it became just a part of me.
And now you've lived through it once, twice,
and now I'm just a walking panic attack. Just kidding. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
Well,
what do I know?
I just want to say, Britt, like I'm just, we had never met before, so I can only imagine the anxiety you were feeling when I was like, hey, come on to my show and talk about your sobriety in front of everybody. But I just want to say I'm so proud of you, and I'm so I have massive respect for you for just being able to come in here and just let it all out, because I know it's such a hard thing to do, but I also know how amazing it can be when you can share your experience and get past the things you need to get past and just hopefully connect with other people that are trying to do the exact same thing.
Appreciate you.
So thank you so much for being here today.
Appreciate what you're doing. It's important, and keep doing that. And if I can help anyway,
of course,
I'd love to. And I'm grateful to know you.
Make sure you go check out Britt. I'm actually going to turn it back over to you really quick. Why don't you tell us where we can find you online, where we're going to be able to find you in the future?
Online, anywhere, on Spotify under Britt Devens, and at Globe Hall on October 14th. My band and I will be playing and headlining that at 8 p.m. and Ellsworth will be with us as well, and Feather Pusher is going to open up the night.
Nice.
But I will be releasing my EP on October 8th, the Friday before that Thursday. You can find it online anywhere.
Excellent. I'm going to be at the show. I hope you're at the show. Again, Britt, it's been my distinct pleasure to have you on the show. So thanks for coming to The Flow Within. I'm your host, Tony G. We'll see you guys next time.